And last but not least, man, let's finally talk, I should say, about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Not my top highly anticipated film of this year, though, but this is one that I was certainly excited to see, man. And well, for me, the main reason is, Sam Raimi, man. And I'll bring him up in my thoughts of, my review of this, right? And speaking of review, this will be a spoiler-free slash spoiler-heavy review, right? So we'll just give the little spoiler-free thoughts, get that out of the way, and then we'll dive into, well, sorry, and then give rating. And afterwards, we'll go into the heavier stuffs because, yeah, a lot of things went down in this. Um, which I'll try not to bring up too much of in the spoiler-free section, right? But yeah, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. Tracy, if you don't mind, just want to give us a run through, a spoiler-free run through of what it was about.
Yes. So here we are at Doctor Strange 2, what was generally touted to be Marvel's first official horror movie. Scott Derrickson left, Sam Raimi came in, and it follows Stephen Strange with continued shenanigans. More or less, the events coming out of No Way Home opened up the idea of the multiverse. And so now Stephen has to come face to face with the different forms of himself and what that is implied, as well as dealing with a new character, America Chavez, who needs his help and who is known to traverse the multiverse. There are some other threats involved, and Stephen has to figure out how to defeat those threats, including, of course, himself being one of the biggest threats to the multiverse. And so from that, we go straight into the movie.
All right, thanks. So I'll just start off with my spoiler-free thoughts, then you guys could come to, right? So for me, right, I enjoyed this. Didn't love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, but I had a blast with this, right? And for me, the reason is Sam Raimi, boy. Just knowing that he is finally helming an MCU movie. No, the Spider-Man trilogy does not count. Shut up, it doesn't, right?
Well, it kind of does now, kind of.
Well, because of No Way Home, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's canon, it's canon.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could tell he is just having a blast with this boy. From
this is like the most Evil Dead Sam Raimi has ever been, especially especially in the third act.
Oh my god, the third act, right? But yeah, I was just because well, all right, what the best way to describe it, right, is that it has the Spider-Man-esque kind of feel at times, right? But when shit gets dark, and I mean shit gets really dark here, not too. We're not talking about R-rated dark, but PG-13 dark, right?
It was just right on the edge of an R at some time. It have one thing. Well, I get to my point, but it have one thing I thought was like, wow, there's some real Omni-Man death shit going on there. Like, wow. Like,
yes,
that's straight up the first episode of Invincible.
Yes.
Yes, of Invincible. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. When shit hits dark though, that's when he goes into his Evil Dead bag, boy. There's a particular moment though where he replicates shots from Evil Dead 2 Dread, where there's this threat that's in the room where the characters are in, as all you'll see, and the camera just kind of moves in this sort of like distorted kind of way. And when I saw that, but Evil Dead fandom was just like, yes. Because in case you all do love the Evil Dead trilogy, even Army of Darkness, right? Even though that's his least favorite, across the board, right? But yeah, this is his show, true, man. But it's still at the heart an MCU film, right? One thing I do appreciate, and I thought this was a very bold call as far as the MCU goes, was not treating this film here as the sequel to 2016's Doctor Strange. So we have to automatically follow up on everything that happened in the first film because that's how sequels work. But no, in this case, it's Doctor Strange in the. So it's like, all right, you've seen this character in other films, like I think it's 3-4 films after the first movie. So yeah, we don't need to do the sequel thing as such, right? They do kind of hit it as such with the inclusion of Christine Palmer, who's played by Rochelle McAdams, right? Of course, she had to be there. What they do with her, where she is, because you have to think about the blip, right? It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I was like, yeah, cool. And where the story goes, though, because at its heart, it is very straightforward, right? But it may seem, and I know this will be like a criticism to a lot of people, it may seem overwhelming, but I think that narrative-wise, it is very straightforward, right? Sure, there are, inclusions of, various characters, some of which you wouldn't see coming. Some of them might be like, I know a show is being developed, but I mean, I didn't know you was going to bring this character in, right? But still, it doesn't stray away from what the story is about. Like, it may come off a little fan servicey at times, but it doesn't stray away from what the story is about, right? And speaking of which, though, haha, right? The mere decision to have Wanda Maximoff, or I should say the Scarlet Witch now, played by Elizabeth Olsen, be the antagonist, I thought was the boldest call, right? And that is because of what we learned from her from WandaVision. But I remember seeing in my review of the first season, I always felt like in that final episode, you really saw her like, yeah, she really not as, virtuous as you might think, though. Like what she did to
Agatha,
to Agatha is like, wow, that's like straight up cold-blooded, you know what I mean? So we should be looking at this character very, very, very cautiously, you know what I mean? And they play on that very well.
She goes from anti-hero with really questionable morals in WandaVision to like straight full-up villain in this movie.
Yeah. She does.
I mean, like Wanda's history has always been, like everybody at some point in time want to either kill her or destroy her or something. Because since the 60s, she's always been this kind of, I am not here for you and your bullshit kind of vibe. So it was kind of really interesting to see them go full tilt inside this movie for it. But we'll talk about that a little later.
Right. Yeah, we will, right? If for those who want to hear spoilers, that is, right? I know for some people they might find her change, quote unquote, to being straight up villain might be a little too quick, though. You know what I mean?
It's not that it was too quick. It's just I find the scene, they could have blocked the scene a little slower because it was just like, oh, he can picture because she say American name and it's like, oh, his American name. But like I find they could have played the scene where he really was thinking, oh, she coming to help out. And then they do the villain turn over time, but they just play it out a little too quick, I find. That is my only problem. It's not
right.
It was already established that she, she's already established she was using the Darkroom from WandaVision or whatever it is. Steven doesn't know that, but we know that. So exactly. I felt they could have paced that out a little longer. So that's about it.
Yeah. If I do have, like, for me, this is like the major gripe for me though, is that while it does do a lot in a consistent amount of time, because this movie is like 2 hours and 6 minutes, I felt like in this case we could have gotten like a little extra time, like a little 5-10 minutes to just flesh out, like I say, that whole that Wanda conceit a little bit more now, because it does rely on you to remember everything in WandaVision and before that, right? But here I just feel like a little bit more time could have just been there to establish that a lot more, even further. Because at times it does feel like, I understand it's supposed to be the character and whatnot, it could feel a little self-centered, like, it's about me and this is what I must do, right? But I get why she's doing it, but it could still feel, like I said, a little self-centered. Like
villain-wise, it felt very Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, right? Because it's her, but a lot of it is because of the Darkroom and the corruption that is bringing her. Like it's that. Right. So that's why I wasn't really like, it's not really her. And she doesn't have as much agency as the story making it out to be. Because once you use the Darkroom, that is it, you're done. Like you get real corrupted and things. Because we see what happened at the ending of this, right? So
yes.
Let me just non-spoiler, and then we'll get to spoilers soon.
Yeah. So that's just rounds it up, right? But yeah, acting across the board was great too. Elizabeth Olsen, she killed it. I mean, she always kills it, right? But here, she really kills it, and she kills right in this, right? Benedict Cumberbatch, Stephen Strange. I mean, what more can I say, man? He just always delivers on it, though. I love his back and forth with Wong. He played by Benedict Wong. Also love what they did with his former quote unquote nemesis, Carl Mordo, right? Who returns in this case, right? America Chavez, right? Who is played by Xochitl, if I got the name wrong, forgive me. I'm so sorry, Gomez. First time into the MCU here. I haven't seen the Babysitters Club. Sorry, that's not my bag, but this is my introduction to it in real. she was decent for the most part, though, and I was a little concerned as to her relevance in the story, but they make it work. They make it work. They kept it simple, right? And just seeing like some cameos here or there was certainly surprising. I do wish that I went to a screening that had more people because there with the few people that were there, like I was just the only one who was kind of trying to make noise, and I tried to avoid as much spoilers as possible. So seeing them was like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense, right? But that being said, though, just to round up now, here's where I think this show will be divisive, right? I think that for people who already like overwhelmed by the MCU content that we've gotten over like what a decade plus, I think this show in particular will be too much for them, right? Because already read or glanced at some complaints that it's just meant to promote other TV shows and promote other shows that was prior stuff that's coming up and all these things, right?
I'm not getting the vibe that I'm not getting the vibe that people just mad at is the same people who mad at the Ralph Boner thing from WandaVision. Or how much people was mad at
Boner.
Yeah, or how many people are still mad at
I forgot about that show.
Iron Man 3 now. It's that's the only real complaints I get from people over
right. But I mean,
I don't know. Like for me, it's always deeply hilarious hearing people gripe. Because on the one hand, you're like, why can't we have a DC universe that is structured and connected and that kind of stuff? And then Marvel says, well, here's a structured, connected universe. This will impact upon this. Why does everything have to be connected to this? You mean to say I have to go and sit down and watch? Oh, yes, go and watch Doctor Strange. Go and watch Infinity War. Go and watch, and then come and see the film. I mean, it's not that hard. It really isn't that hard.
You saying it not hard.
I halfway on that. I am a bit halfway on that because yes, I do rate films simply if you don't have to connect them to other films at all. This one is heavily.
Ideally, it should stand on its own, but
right. So this is very, very heavily dependent on other material from before, right? You can never watch WandaVision. Yeah, Cassie, is gonna make sense to you as it is. It'll be a little bit of a stretch. Or if you never watch other material to make sense of this, that, or the other.
Yeah. Well, right. Funny story. I actually did binge What If recently to prepare myself for this movie because there in certain TV spots and trailers we see certain characters, which we'll get into the spoiler review. But we'll get into the spoilers. But all right, continue.
As I say with me, it wasn't the problem is less the whole conceit of, well, what kind of story you need to tell, and that is why I didn't have a problem with it in this. But yeah, you kind of have to reference the material as it is. It depends. It depends. I like what Sam Raimi did with this. I just absolutely, in fact, the more I think about it, I absolutely love what he did.
Which of course we'll get to with the spoilers, right? But just a rounds up. But yeah, so I would imagine even like MCU fans themselves might find this to be a little too much, or just. Okay, so this is just basically to promote new shows or old shows. Like this is what it's about. Is this a marketing thing? And I know you'll have some people out there like who probably like a long time just kind of see this look at the MCU film and just think about contracts and dollar signs and all that kind of stuff and think that there's no soul or heart to it. But I think that it is in these films and it's very evident here, man. And I mean the title, right? Multiverse of Madness, right? Like we've seen stuff like Flash, try to explore like multiverse stuff as well too. And we get moments similar, but here I thought it was handled very well. Like I mean obviously it didn't take 5 episodes to tell a story, right? But I mean, look at what they were able to do with this show here alone, right? In terms of just being creative, it was just being wild, just being batshit crazy, right? But never at the extent of being self-indulgent. And that's what I really appreciate. And you needed somebody with a steady hand to pull this all off. And that's why I have to give all the praise to Sam Raimi, because yeah, he handles material very well. It wasn't too fan servicey, even though there were like fan servicey moments here or there. It wasn't too self-indulgent, even though it was referencing this, that, and the third. And it just gave you the goods. It just delivered on that title right there. So at the moment, not the best MCU film that I have seen, but certainly one of the more enjoyable ones I've seen in quite some time, man. And I don't know how in the long run I will look back at this. Like maybe I might look at this and be like, this was kind of like maybe this is kind of like a shameless cash grab to hype up other shoes or something like that, But I think for what it is, for this kind of wild experiment that they pull off, and while this MCU saying, yes, we reached a level now where we could make movies that touch on shows that were based on movies that we put out. Yeah, this totally worked for me out. So rating wise, like a decent 4 out of 5, man. I enjoyed it. I want to see it again just to see if there were certain things that I missed out on. But yeah, I would say though, it will be divisive. I know that for sure. I know it will be divisive amongst MCU fans and non-MCU fans as well. But I still see, just go in, strap yourself down, and just enjoy the ride, man. That's all I'll say. All right, so Daniel, your spoiler-free thoughts on Multiverse of Madness. What you thought?
Well, I'll keep it brief. I enjoyed this for what it was. I enjoyed the fan service, which we'll get into the spoilers. I know that I've been noticing online there are a lot of people who have their own issues with it, but whatever. I will give this a high 7 out of 10. I didn't enjoy it so much to give it a higher grade, but I didn't hate it so much to give it a lower grade. I would give us a decent 7, a high 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it.
All right, but you don't want to mention at least what you liked and didn't like in a spoiler-free fashion?
Well, what I liked was Benedict Cumberbatch as I love Benedict Cumberbatch in the role. I mean, from the first time he was cast in the first movie, he was, perfect casting. And Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch, damn good. Rave reviews all around for Elizabeth Olsen. America Chavez, I thought was okay. Because they bringing in her, and because they're bringing in so many other like Young Justice people, I want to see her character fleshed out a bit more, and I hope she's fleshed out a bit more. But for what she has in here, she's serviceable. She's okay. Overall, I loved Sam Raimi's direction. Like I said, this is his most Evil Dead movie that we've ever seen, especially in the third act. Yeah, overall liked it. Can't say I hate this. I can't say I don't have major issues with it. So yeah, 7 out of 10.
All right, Tracy, your spoiler-free thoughts on Multiverse of Madness.
Well, here's the thing. I go back to like what I was saying at the beginning. When they touted this as being Marvel's first horror, I'm someone who enjoys sleeping, so I don't really dig up in horror too much, which is hilarious because some of the stuff that I actually quite like veers deep into the horror realm, and then of course it's Sam Raimi, so huzzah. I'm giving this film, I want to say an A minus. I was going to give it a B, but I will give it an A minus. Oh my god, I saw it twice in the same day. So I saw it at the 2:30, and then I saw it at the 5:45 showing. And so if there was something that I missed in the first time around, I got to see it again. I was very much pleased with Benedict's take on Strange Part 2, Strange 2. I love the introduction of having Xochitl, her name is pronounced Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez. I am with Daniel in terms of the idea of, we know that the Young Avengers, there's a lot of stuff that seems to be setting up for Young Avengers, and I could be wrong, but I know America, well, I think America is supposed to be like good friends with Kate Bishop. So, and I could be wrong on that one, but I think that was something there. So we will see if that flares out. I am team Maximoff. So I remember watching, the trailers and being like, I'm just going to be here to see Wanda muck things up, and muck things up she did, and I was very happy about that. There was some bits of it that I thought I was a little worried, that I was like, okay, what are you doing to my girl? But then I really did. But I saw it twice in the same day. So I went back at the 5:45, but I said I'm gonna watch it again. I was like, yes. When we get to the actual spoilers, we'll talk like cameos and that kind of stuff. My thing with it is that I sat down, I watched the cameos, I enjoyed seeing it, I enjoyed the world that was in. It actually gave me a random headcanon about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but as a different thing. And I thought to myself, and I will put this out just because, just because you see them as cameos, I wouldn't get too hung up on them when they decide to actually cast our 616 actors. It probably will be like a whole bunch of different other actors playing those roles. Don't get too hung up or caught up on it.
Don't get too attached. Don't get too attached.
In terms of Sam Raimi's direction, there's a line that usually you hear the Sith say. It's like, now you'll see the full power of the dark side. And it legitimately, and then they start, hitting you with Force Lightning. It's legitimately that with Raimi. It's Raimi unleashed. When he was coming into it, he was saying he made the joke, and I say joke, he made the joke that he's here and he's going to show these kids how to do a superhero movie. And I feel like he did that. I feel like he legitimately did that. It doesn't have the Ditkoism of Scott Derrickson's, like the first Doctor Strange, and you go into the portals and you see the different worlds, and it's like, oh my god, this is a comic book spread. You didn't have that, but it was so much Raimi that I felt great joy. And I mean, this is not a spoiler, but I'll throw this out. There's something that Raimi does. He did it in Spider-Man 2, and I saw a glimpse of it here, where he pays homage to Clark, a Supermanism that he loves to do in like his Spider-Man movies, and he did it here. And I saw that, and I was like, yes, bring everybody in the pool. I love it. So yeah, A- for me. That's my spoiler-free thoughts. Go see it soon, and see it. Get the soundtrack as well.
So Ricardo, spoiler-free thoughts and rating on this movie.
Yeah, I'd imagine it for a lot of people. For some people, it may hinge on that one sequence, but I'm glad that's what Raimi did with it. The first act is very good in this. The third act is very good in this. The second act is sluggish, right? And it's slowed down, and it's catering to some of the worst elements of comic book continuity stuff for the most part, right? And to be honest, I kind of didn't care about any of it, even though that's where they may be leaning into, but whatever. Is it just good lateral marketing, or just good coincidence because we have something connected to it? We were talking about it before. As I said, that's the closest thing we'll get to spoilers here. I felt the pacing with Wanda's villain turn was a bit quick. I know it was well established in WandaVision. We wasn't too clear what going on, but she using the Darkhold, and you're not sure how much, for lack of a better term, how much agency she has in the matter. But because it's very darker from Spider-Man 2 kind of vibe they're going on with that. But overall, it is still fine. It is a little on the quick end. As it is, I really dug it for what it was. That especially that there's something in that final last sequence that is pure uncut Sam Raimi. It's goofy, gross, and terrifying at the same time. We get a little Bruce Campbell cameo and stuff like that, which I really enjoyed. Little things like that just his camera work and how he bounced around. America Chavez, I thought she was pretty good. She just a little bit of a plot device, but she bounced off of Stephen Strange reasonably well. And I like that it did what the subtext of the whole thing was involving the idea of the multiverse and the central theme and conceit of it, involving you have to accept or reject reality. I like the message. It's a fine story. It is nice and zany enough. A little too clumsy at parts, but it works for me. Rating, give it a 8 out of 10, or maybe like a 7 out of 10 if it's anything. Closer to a 7, to be honest. It just they could have just tie stuff together and make it flow a little better. But for the most part, I dug it for what it was. I wasn't expecting anything greater, and I was too hyped for. I was glad that they kind of anti-hyped the movie for what they decided to do with it going forward. But 7 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it for what it was.